That's a nice one.
Good evening. Welcome to our regular scheduled board meeting. We're grateful for your presence this evening. Roll call.
Bruce Alexander.
Present.
Ginger Baylor.
Here.
Patrick Bravo.
Here.
Morgan Lasher. Here. Lisa Mansfield.
Here.
Tim Miller.
Here.
Reverend Dr. Curtis T. Walker.
Present. At this time, we're going to be favored with our Pledge of Allegiance by Tiffany Trent, the daughter of Mr. Jones, who will lead us in our Pledge of Allegiance. Come up to the front.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. At this time, we'll take a few moments for our community and school reflections, and if there are any, we will begin at this time. One, yes, Mr. Allen.
I just had one, and I neglected to say it in the last board meeting. I got a chance to attend Findlay CLC before they ended their lunch on the blanket, and it's always nice to go and see that because you have all the families who are invited to the school. They have blankets in the gym. They bring their own foods, and the kids just enjoy themselves with their families. And then they also have volunteers. They're teachers who may have been teachers at the school who come and volunteer, have the police department, the fire department. They're all there, so it's a really nice event. And if anybody ever gets a chance to go by there at the end of the year, I think it's really nice. Mrs. Carla Chapman was there with as well, and it's always a really, really nice event. So I just wanted to make sure I reported out on that because it's something that everyone should be able to see, especially with all the melting pot that we have there right now is really, really neat. Thank you.
Anyone else? Yeah.
I had two things yesterday. It was quite an uplifting day at the NAACP luncheon and scholarship awards, their life luncheon and scholarship awards. One of the things I want to give kudos to the NAACP for locally is for putting what school our students attend that get those scholarships. I think that so many times there's a perception in the community that certain schools do not get as many scholarships as others. And these are academic scholarships. These are our students who've worked very hard. And I just appreciate so much that they got the recognition they so deserve. And then the other is slightly unusual. I got to hear Carla Chapman, and she not only spoke yesterday at the ceremony for the students at Millennial Baptist Church, but she honestly preached. I had the pleasure of being the mistress of ceremonies at Pastor D's church, and she had invited Carla and I there so they could honor their students as they moved, whether, I think our biddiest ones were 3 or 4 years old, walking the red carpet, and they were being honored for moving on to the next level of education, all the way up to one they had that was a college graduate. And Carla graced us with some real inspirational words, but just shout out to her for her service to our students, both in school and out, and also to Pastor D for recognizing the importance of education in her church. So thanks for that.
I will mirror the comments on the NAACP scholarship luncheon. Very nice luncheon once again. I didn't go last year, but that was the first one I missed in a couple years, but this year's was once again very nice, very deserving students. There was one full ride given, full tuition for Kent State, I believe 20 plus other scholarships for other students throughout the Akron and Summit County area. I had the honor of speaking at the Bookdole CLC graduation, and the keynote speaker that evening was Bookdole High School graduate Brandy Davis, who is now the principal at the I Promise School. She gave a very, very poignant note speech to the students there. She was very good in what she did, and also had the opportunity and the privilege of being at the Firestone High School graduation this year as well, Firestone CLC graduation. So.
Anyone else?
Well, I was at both Tills and Firestones. It's just a joy to see the students walk across the stage, and from year to year, it's a good number of students who graduate from the Akron Public Schools and have done very well with their academics while they were attending. So it was very heartwarming to attend both of those, and Brandy did do a great job, a very compelling and relevant speech. I also attended the NAACP luncheon, and it's accurate what both Tim and Lisa said, and I really like the fact they put the students' pictures on the cover of the one thing I didn't like, if I could say I didn't like it, when our students were receiving their scholarships, there was not an Akron Public School person there to shake their hands, and that bothered me. It did something to me inside. I know everybody really don't mind it, but I do, because I think we're great partners throughout the city, and that should be shown in every venue that we participate in, because we're always at the table, we're always helping others, and I think the respect should just be given at least at that minimal layer right there, that, you know, if board members, superintendent, assistant superintendent are in attendance, somebody should be up there shaking our children's hands that they see or work with in the community on an ongoing basis. Other than that, it was wonderful. But that did something to me inside. I know everybody want to keep everything flowery, and I'm really a very positive-minded person, but that bothered me. Okay, I'm done.
Baylor did a lovely job at Firestone's graduation, and she also kept me from going to pieces when my son graduated. And we had a really good time, and the superintendent actually even got a hug from my son. He might have been the only hug he got during graduation season, I'm not really sure. And he said that he wasn't sure if he had a choice, because Teddy's about this tall as the superintendent. He just brought him in. There's no choice.
I'll add quickly, I got to go to East's graduation, and Patrick, fantastic job. And I would say of all of the speeches that I heard, board members, superintendents, they were really, really inspiring. And I know the kids want to get their diplomas, but I think you also were able to impart a lot of really fantastic things for that. And at East, we usually sit on the stage or sit close to the stage. They joke that we have the best view because we get to see the kids' faces. But at East, I actually sat in the audience and got to talk to a couple of the parents and hear some stories of kids that were graduating. And that was a very strong reminder that there's so many stories that walk across the stage. It's not just the name and the diploma, that everybody has a really compelling reason and people behind them that cross those stages. And the last thing to mention is it is currently Akron Parks Week, and over the weekend there were many volunteer opportunities, and I popped around to a couple, and we had a lot of students there actually who came with their families and would volunteer to paint a park bench or clean up around the area. So it was really neat to see families coming out together in our communities.
Anyone else? I want to thank you for those comments. I do want to add, as far as reflections, Emmanuel Christian Academy, in conjunction with collaborating with Portage Path, I believe Schumacher, and an invitation was offered to I Promise School, develop an art piece in a lovely garden across the street from Emmanuel Christian Academy. And they had a ribbon cutting ceremony, and a very lovely piece of property where they constructed the art there. And the art teacher and her student teacher from Portage Path was there during the ribbon cutting ceremony as well. And then this week, every year around this time, I have to go to a church meeting where we are reappointed. And my boss, who is the bishop of the area, and another bishop were able to visit the I Promise School. One of the wives, who we call missionary supervisor, just loves LeBron James. And so they got a chance to take a tour along with our Christian Education Department on Friday. So I want to thank Keith Litsky for making that possible, which made their day. And they were really blessed by the school, seeing it, getting an opportunity to be there. So that's another way that, again, the public relations about what we're doing in public education continues to go. And then for at Bookto Firestone and a couple other graduations. But at Firestone, there were two students who were members of my former church that I pastored. In fact, I baptized one of them who crossed the stage on at Firestone, and I was able to shake his hand and give him his diploma. So it's that's a great feeling to have that. So I understand and know what Mrs. Mansfield was feeling that day. So we want to thank all those persons who did an excellent job throughout the graduation season, all of you who gave speeches, all of you who participated in that activity to let our community know that we are responsive to not only our students but the public, and that hopefully the remarks that you made about being included in the NAACP's presentation, I'm sure Mrs. Hill wouldn't mind us making a suggestion that she might include that as part of what they do for the graduates. Okay, no requests to address the board. And at this time, we have a special presentation, to one of our veterans. And let me share about this young man, Richard Francis Schultz. At this time, I'd like to present a Veterans Honorary High School Diploma to Mr. Richard Francis Schultz. Veterans Honorary High School Diplomas recognize the life experience of honorably discharged veterans who were unable to complete their high school education because of service in the armed forces during World War II, the Korean War, or the Vietnam War. Mr. Schultz served in the U.S. Army and the U.S. Army Reserve from June 12, 1969 through June 11, 1975, with part of that time spent in Vietnam from December 4, 1969 to November 30th, 1970. During his service, Mr. Schultz earned the Bronze Star Medal, the Republic of Vietnam Gallantry Cross with Palm Unit Citation, the Vietnam Service Medal with 3 Bronze Service Stars, and the Republic of Vietnam Civil Action Honor Medal First Class Unit Citation Badge. On behalf of the Akron Public Schools, the Board of Education, I'm happy, and if you would come forward at this time, Mr. Schultz, to present this honorary high school diploma. And it's from North High, so you have some wonderful North High graduates who are members of the board, and honor you and thank you for your outstanding service. Thank you. And the time that you've given service. We know this was a long wait.
Boy, was it.
But we're grateful that we were able to. Family members or anyone would want to come and take photos at this time. And I don't know if Mr. Williams, oh, there he is. Sure, please do.
I would like to introduce my mother and father, Francis and Tanya Schultz. Next week, they celebrate their 72nd wedding anniversary. I'll be 69 in October, and she still asks me when I'm going to grow up. Been at 72 years, a long time. This has been a long time coming too. This is the best welcome home I could ever experience. Those who are old enough to remember back when we came home, we were not appreciated as veterans. We would always say welcome home to each other because we never were. The American public wanted nothing to do with it. So thank you.
Yes.
James, I'd like to present both of you with a commemorative coin. Vietnam veterans, welcome home, finally. This is my welcome home after 50 years. Long time.
Get one with the, Mark, could you get one with the family? Oh, you did? Okay.
And North High School graduated.
Yes.
Really?
Over there, bro.
That's all right. No.
I'd like to thank the entire school board. Thank you so much. This means the world to me. Thank you. You made my day. Thank you. I appreciate
It is. Wonderful.
Toughest parts for
that.
me.
Guys, say one word. We appreciate this very much. The Akron School Board has recognized. Thank you very much. Okay.
Join in.
That's why you need to be in there. You worked
Oh.
all day. Oh, wait a minute now. I'm just here.
Public school.
Thank you so very much again.
That's funny.
Feel sick first.
I have a lot of ties with education.
Thank you so very much.
You.
Thank you. As we continue, at this time, we want to recognize and make presentations to our distinguished employee emeritus certificates. Each board member has a certificate and a name of an individual, and we'll begin with Patrick Bravo and then go around the table. Yes. Mhm.
Okay, good evening. I have the privilege of introducing Jim Dyer. After graduation from North High School, this proud Viking decided to enter the workforce. He was about to make a decision that would positively affect the rest of his life and the lives of many others. In 1978, Jim was hired as a full-time custodial worker with the Akron Public Schools. After a brief stint as an itinerant and in the grounds department, Jim got his first custodial assignment at Ellett High School. He became a licensed custodial worker in 1981, and 1 year later, he became an assistant custodian. This meant he had the exciting opportunity to work the night shift for a number of years. In 1991, he became the head custodian at Voris Elementary School. He worked as head custodian at a number of elementary schools until 2002. That was the year Jim joined the staff at the Ott Staff Development Center, where he remained until his retirement in August 2018. Jim's work ethic was beyond reproach. Numerous administrators and supervisors remarked about how well Jim maintained the cleanliness and appearance of his buildings in their evaluations of him. Principal Sandy Mink at Essex Elementary once wrote, "Since he has tackled tasks that have not been addressed for several years, the improved appearance of the building and grounds has been noted by faculty and community members." Julia Mann wrote, "Jim Dyer's work ethic is outstanding. He models respect for his crew and every individual that is at the Ott Staff Development Center." The word exemplary was used by a number of supervisors when describing Jim's work performance at their building. Former Principal Earl Ney at Leggett Elementary summed it all up when he wrote, "Mr. Dyer is the most professional, industrious, and intelligent custodian I have had the privilege to work with. Thank you, Jim, for your service to Akron Public Schools, and congratulations."
The homecoming, though, I see a lot of familiar faces. This evening, and Mike, who lives in Cincinnati. Both very successful in their fields of study, thanks to their dedicated administrators. I've had the pleasure of working with many great administrators, teachers, custodians, and maintenance staff throughout the years. Thank you again for acknowledging my many years of service to APS.
We shared the hallways of North High School. We called him Jimmy. It's not Jimmy.
See?
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
I have the distinct pleasure and honor to introduce Helen Fire. Helen was a graduate of Talmadge High School, June of 1978. Typically Helen Fire style, she wanted no time to register for the University of Akron and started on her future education. Helen graduated from University of Akron in 1983 with her bachelor's degree in accounting, along with a second major in marketing. After graduation, Helen worked several different jobs, including working as an account clerk for the Akron Summit County Public Library, as a bookkeeper and payroll clerk for the Office of Attorneys Genovese and Fulkins, and as the teller at First National Bank. In November 1984, Helen accepted a position with Akron Public Schools as an account clerk 1 in the accounts payable office. A mere 6 months later, Helen was promoted as clerk 2 in the same office. 1 year later, in 1986, she was promoted again, account clerk 3. Helen continued to demonstrate excellent knowledge and familiarity with her job duties, so that in 1989, she was again promoted to the position of a funded program assistant. Helen remained in that position for approximately 7 years while honing her skills and sharpening her understanding of the subject matter. In March 1996, Helen's excellent work once again recognized her and she was promoted to administrative supervisor, budgetary operations. In this position, Helen's responsibilities were, among others, to create and maintain all budgets, instruct all administrators on finances, adhere to proper timeliness for submission of various reports, and to establish and maintain communications with funded programs. And I know that for a fact because we did a lot of programs together. You didn't have your stuff together, you did hear from Helen. In 2017, Helen was promoted one more time to the position of accounts payable supervisor. In this position, Helen was responsible for all day-to-day activity of the Accounts Payable Office. As you can see, Helen's 34-year career with Akron Public Schools described an encouraging picture of progression and growth that almost textbook in its evolution. Young people today would do well to follow her lead in a career path, whatever they may be. We recognize Helen on a job extremely well done. Best luck to you, Helen, in your retirement. Again, Helen, thank you. Helen and I worked a number of years side by side, and I appreciate all the help she gave me and our programs to keep Akron Public Schools programs moving forward for our students. Thank you, Helen.
It was, I, day-to-day grind, raising family and working and able to use my accounting skills, and I never anticipating having a career in education. It really was all those that supported me over the years. Couldn't have done it without every day we hold it together. So thank you again. Appreciate it.
Hello, everyone. I have the privilege of introducing Mr. Robert Gross, foreman. And have you ever wondered what life would be like if we didn't have people who were competent and skilled in the trades? How difficult would our lives be if we suddenly had plumbing issues in our homes that we couldn't fix, let alone having a number of homes or schools in this case with issues that we need to fix? So we're about to enter the world of Mr. Robert Gross. Bob graduated from Kenmore High School as a proud Cardinal, and he joined the Akron Public Schools Maintenance Department as a plumber in the fall of 1988. For about 8 years, he worked in the buildings, fixing and repairing plumbing issues, and he was very good at his trade. In 1997, he was promoted to foreman of the plumbing department, and he remained in that assignment for over 20 years. Once again, Bob did a very good job. He was most competent in running the plumbing department. One of his major tasks included assigning and scheduling his workers to fix the district's many buildings, and many is realized here, many buildings. Another important and related task was finding the right parts that you actually needed to fix these issues, and most buildings needed very unique parts to fix their problems. But somehow he managed to overcome all of these obstacles. His supervisor wrote in an evaluation, he is to be commended for continuing to respond to these demands. Bob was a man of few words, according to his colleagues. He let his work performance speak for itself. In a letter to Bob, also from his supervisor, he says, "You have established high standards for yourself and your crew, and you have maintained that level of determination for quite some time. The end results are obvious. You supervise a very efficient department and in turn produce very effective results." So thank you, Bob, for the services you provided in making sure our schools had their plumbing issues. Very much congratulations to you.
I have the honor and great pleasure to speak a little bit about Christine McNair. Is that correct? Is she here? Hi. Did I say it correctly? Okay. Chris McNair graduated from Kenmore High School. She continued her education by initially attending Kent State University for 2 years, then transferring to the University of Akron. In May 1979, she completed her bachelor's degree from the University of Akron with a major in comprehensive business education. Chris performed her student teaching in familiar surroundings, those of Kenmore High School, instructing her students in intensive office education, stenography, and general business. Chris began her employment career by working summers as a cheerleader and gymnastics instructor throughout the United States, and was a sales clerk for O'Neill's department store. She then began working for an employment agency where she was responsible for all clerical duties. A year or so later, Chris was employed by Firestone Tire and Rubber Company as a secretary in the development department. She was responsible for handling correspondence, statistical computations, typing, and all other secretarial duties. Working for these employers gave her a personal philosophy which she has maintained throughout her life, that of the importance of positive attitude and a healthy self-image. Chris believes that this philosophy not only holds up well over time, but translates smoothly into the classroom. In 1979, Chris began her first teaching position at W.G. Harding High School in Warren, Ohio. She spent 4 years teaching intensive office education, stenography, and typing. Chris was first employed by the Akron Public Schools in 1986. She was assigned to serve as a remedial instructor for special needs children. The following year, she was appointed as a marketing education teacher, and in 1988, her assignment was changed to intensive office education. This assignment was particularly enjoyable as it was at Kenmore High School, her alma mater. She spent several years there, then moved on to Ellett High School, Adult Vocational Services, Central Howard High School, and Garfield High School. In addition to being a skillful teacher, Chris has always been ready to take on an additional school duty, such as newspaper advisory, school treasurer, cheerleading supervisor, tennis coach, AV coordinator, and technology coordinator. Chris will be sorely missed by her principal, her fellow teachers, and her students. She has consistently gone above and beyond for them all and richly deserves this new adventure in life. Congratulations, Chris. Now go out there and have some fun. You did all this work and it's time for you to have some fun.
Well, I'm going to say this. I remember one day standing in the cafeteria at Garfield High School, just watching the kids. I was on cafeteria duty. A couple kids came up and were chatting, and I'm watching all of them and all that high school energy going on and all that goes on in the cafeteria. And I remember thinking to myself, you know, I really am lucky to get to do this. I don't mean this misinterpreted, but I can't believe they pay me to do this because it was really such an honor and such a joy to be all around all that energy and all that youth. And so I just thank Akron Public Schools for giving me that.
Thank you.
All right, mine's written a bit like the year to start here. Do you know anyone who was born in California, graduated from high school in New Jersey, and then settled in Ohio to attend college and become a teacher? Let me introduce you to Rebecca Smith. Rebecca was born in Pasadena, California, and she graduated from Princeton High School in Princeton, New Jersey. She found her way to Ohio, where she attended Lake Erie College and studied to become a teacher. In 1981, she earned her bachelor's degree in special education. After doing her student teaching at Essex Elementary, she became a member of the Akron Public Schools in 1986. She was assigned to be a special education teacher at Krause. From Krause Elementary, she transferred to Barrett Elementary for 16 years before finishing her career at Mason. Her former principals wrote many positive comments about her in her evaluation. Marla Knobel of Barrett wrote, Mrs. Smith focuses on meeting the needs of the total child, diligently helping with behavior issues. Terry Corbin, also of Barrett, wrote, Mrs. Smith has done an excellent job of developing a program for her students. She has provided a quality program for all of them. Her rapport with other staff has enabled her students to function well at Barrett. Special education children require teachers who are able to meet their specific individual needs on a daily basis, and Rebecca has provided the instruction to meet those needs for her children. After going coast to coast, the children of Akron Public Schools were the beneficiaries of her settling in Akron, Ohio, and becoming a dedicated special education teacher. Congratulations, Rebecca Smith. Time to return to making some road trips.
What pops into my head is when Ellen McWilliams decided that special education teachers needed to do IEP programs on the computer and ran those workshops so we all learned how to do mouse practice, and I remember that so clearly. And I remember typing my first IEPs back to back and on a typewriter, and was so thankful that she brought that technology. And my hope for the future of our special education children is that we can be allowed to use that technology so they can better access the world.
Good evening. I have the privilege of honoring from our Transportation Department, David Sparks. David proudly accepted his graduation diploma from Cuyahoga Falls High School. He was now ready to pursue his dream of going to college. He enrolled at the University of Akron to study engineering, later transferring to Henderson State University, where he received a bachelor's degree in music in 1964. 2 years later, in 1966, he earned a master in church music from the College of Church Musicians. Music was David's passion. He worked in churches and synagogues in Akron, Canton, and as far away as South Bend, Indiana. He was a church musician and performer. However, he was looking for a part-time job to supplement his income. A friend told him that the Akron Public School District was looking for bus drivers. This was just what he was looking for because he could still concentrate on his music and be a steady part-time driver. He was hired in 1980. On almost every service rating report, David's attendance is noted. Perfect attendance. It was rare for him to miss work. You could count on him to be there and do a great job. Supervisor Kathy Keel wrote on his rating report, quote, "David is very dependable, always at work, and on schedule on his route," unquote. When asked about his favorite memories, David had many. He recalled following protocol by checking all of his mirrors before pulling out to drive. He noticed something pink in one of his mirrors. He checked and found a little child had hidden in the wheel well of his bus. His doing the right thing saved a life. He mentioned the positive support he received from his supervisors. His most fulfilling memory was being with the students. It was all about respect. Supervisor Tom Mitchell said it best when he wrote, quote, "Mr. Sparks provides an outstanding example of professionalism and dedication," unquote. Thank you, David Sparks, for safely transporting the children to and from school. Your conscientious service is greatly appreciated. Congratulations, David.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. Superintendent James and the board. If I had to do it over again, I would have done the same thing. Hooked up with a very supportive school system where I had a diversity in schools in all quadrants of the city. And I had very good support from the office. Some of you might remember 7 years ago, Deb Foltz invited another transportation office employee, Harry Harsney, and I to perform at the First Baptist Church when we had the big rally just before school started in August. And Terry, also with a master's in music, and I took turns playing the 9-foot Baldwin grand piano as you all came together. And that was a great memory. And worked for 5 coordinators of transportation: Jim Smith, Tom Mitchell, Guy Burgess, Kathy Keel, and then William and Dex, who gave me all the support one could ask for. And thank you, Deb Foltz, for your support to transportation through the board. Safety is, of course, the main issue, but the driver, remember, on dedicated routes, wears the APS smile first thing in the morning, as early as 6:30, and we bid the students a good night at the end of the day, and that's quite a privilege. So thank you very, very much. I'm continuing. I've been serving for 2 years, assistant organist, choir master of St. Paul's Episcopal Church, the neo-colonial church across from Lady of the Elms, West Market and Kenilworth. And so that's just fits me to a T. Thank you.
And now, Field Administrator Charles Jones. Charles began his career with the Akron Public Schools in 1984 as a special education teacher at Margaret Park Elementary School for 9 years. He then moved to Portage Path Elementary School for 7 years, also as a special education teacher. During his teaching career, Charles also coached boys and girls tennis teams at Firestone High School from 1986 to 2000. In 2000, Charles was promoted to an assistant principal at Jennings Middle School. After 2 years, he was moved to Roswell Kent Middle School and later moved to Essex Elementary School. During his 2 years at Essex, Essex was acknowledged as a school of promise for showing growth in reading and math. Charles went on to Findlay Elementary School, where he was principal for 5 years. He was then selected as principal for Robinson Elementary School for another 5 years. Since 2016, Charles has led Jennings Middle School through many changes. He has a unique style and concern for all of his students. Recently, an article in Akron Beacon Journal shared the work of Charles has done within the chess club at Jennings. And in 2017 to 2018 school year, the chess team, Jennings chess team, was the first APS school to win the state championship. Charles' love for chess and teaching his students the skills needed to be successful, not only at chess, but skills that will carry on throughout their lives. He is a proven leader who cared not only about academics, but well beyond to developing the lives of young people. We wish Charles a wonderful retirement, and I tried to convince his daughter to ask him to change his mind, but it didn't work. And many new pathways for him to follow. Good luck, Charles, and I'll see you more in Acme Grocery Store. And thank you for your leadership with Akron Public Schools.
Anyway, what I'd like to say really is that I thought about it, I always said I was the luckiest person of all. You know, Luke Garrett said that he was the luckiest man alive, and I said, no, that was me. My parents, my sister, I wasn't going to college, she made me go. lucky enough to apply to Akron and get accepted there. But then I was lucky enough to Dr. Small, who made me an administrator. He applied, just came up to me. And all of a sudden I was at Jennings. But it's been lucky to work for you guys, lucky to work for Mr. Black, Mrs. Kelly back there. Learned so much from everybody, Dr. McWilliams. And it's really been, I've been the lucky one to be able to work for everybody else. And finally, lucky enough to have Matt Goslack as the assistant principal. He's done so much for the schools. And really, I've been the lucky one. And the only one I've only had to say is thank you to all of you for allowing me to serve you. So thank you very much.
We have other certificates that we will distribute at a later date for those persons who are not present today. Again, congratulations to all of you for your outstanding labor of love to the Akron Public Schools. What we'll do is quickly, in case we missed someone, and you did show up, and we didn't think you were. Michael Blinkenhorn, Elaine Ratzer, Kathleen Saxon, Nancy Snyder, Susan Sakuro, Karen Victorano, at this time, we'll receive a motion to receive our regular schedule minutes for May 28th.
So moved.
Second.
Been properly moved and seconded. Any questions or comments? Roll call.
Mansfield,
Yes.
Miller,
Yes.
Walker,
Yes.
Alexander,
Yes.
Baylor,
Yes.
Bravo,
Yes.
Lasher.
Yes.
At this time, we're going to go into executive session pursuant revised code 121.22 G3. I hereby move that the board adjourn to executive session to meet the board legal counsel to discuss disputes involving the board and/or the school district that are the subject of pending or imminent court action. And so we will go into the room that has been assigned to us for our executive session.
So moved.
Need a motion?
Second.
Yes. Been properly moved and seconded. Any questions or comments? Hearing none. Roll call.
Walker,
Yes.
Alexander,
Yes.
Baylor,
Yes.
Bravo,
Yes.
Lasher,
Yes.
Mansfield,
Yes.
Miller.
Yes.
And we will return back after our executive session. Thank you for your patience, so we're ready to resume. And with our superintendent's recommendations,
Mr. President, I have before me for your consideration 49 personnel recommendations. These recommendations are in proper form, and I move their approval.
So moved.
Second.
and properly moved and seconded. Any questions or comments? Hearing none. Roll call.
Miller,
Yes.
Walker,
Yes.
Alexander,
Yes.
Baylor, Bravo,
Bring it up, sorry.
Yes, except for number 9, which I'll vote no on.
Mansfield.
Yes.
And actually, I have Kathy McVeigh here to introduce a few new appointments.
In 2009, Mr. Tosca became a multi-grade math major.
Board, obviously, Dr. James, Dr. Williams, Ms. McNair, Mr. Black, and Ms. Kelly. Because of that lovely experience I had at the elementary level. I will never forget you. I also obviously want to give a huge thanks to Charles for preparing me to take on the opportunity of continuing the growth that Jennings and North Hill
became Dean of Students.
I just want to thank God.
Leon? Coordinated accomplishment.
I'd like to thank Rachel Peck.
Next, Mr. President, I have before me for your consideration 3 motions and 6 resolutions on the consent agenda. These recommendations are in proper form, and I move their approval.
So moved.
Second.
Been properly moved and seconded. Roll call?
Walker,
Yes.
Alexander,
Yes.
Baylor,
Yes.
Lasher,
Yes.
Mansfield,
Yes.
Miller.
Yes.
And Mr. President, I would like to just state my appreciation to the GAR Foundation. We've just approved acceptance of a $529,000 grant supporting our college and career academies, and also the Educator Initiative Grant Awards totaling $64,150 from GAR, which supports a variety of projects that our teachers had submitted applications for. And also, I know earlier today we did talk about the donation of some obsolete items from Goodrich Middle School to South Street Ministries. It's nice when some of our decommissioned buildings can continue giving.
I was going to point all those out, so thank you, Mr. Superintendent. And then I also think it's pretty exciting, the aquatic education grant. I look forward to the possibilities that that gives for our county and for our families to catch trout in the river someday. So that's very cool. There's a lot of really neat things on the consent agenda.
And finally, Mr. President, I have before me for your consideration 13 business affairs recommendations. These recommendations are in proper form, and I move their approval.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and properly seconded. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, roll call.
Alexander,
Yes.
Baylor, Bravo,
Yes.
Lasher,
Yes.
Mansfield,
Yes?
Miller,
Yes.
Walker.
Yes.
Thank
Superintendent's
you.
report?
No report.
Treasurer's, no president's report. Treasurer's report?
Just a brief report on next board meeting for the end of the year. Budget appropriations for the final year to approve.
Thank you. Committee reports, legal, contracts, and board policy committee?
None.
Finance, capital management committee?
No report.
Instructional policy and student achievement committee? No report. Okay, unfinished business? Any new business? Okay, we need to go back into executive session per revised code 121.22. G3, I hereby move that the board adjourn to executive session to meet with board legal counsel to discuss disputes involving the board and/or other school district that are the subject of pending or imminent court action. I need a motion at this time.
Move.
Second. It's been properly moved and seconded. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, roll call.
Baylor? Bravo,
Yes.
Lasher,
Yes?
Miller,
Yes.
Walker,
Yes.
Alexander.
Yes.